All right, everybody. It is November the 29th, not the 19th, 29th, 2023. And we continue to review what the Course in Miracles teaches us because we are in the middle. I tell you, it excites me to know what is possible, because what is happening to the world right now, and we are entering the very final phase of the completion of the old. We are entering, or we have been, not entering, we have been at the very final stages of what I'm going to call the birth process of the new. These teachings that we have been studying with A Course in Miracles is all about helping us ground ourselves in realizing how powerful we are. And as within, so without, we have to acknowledge our own individual power before we can affect the outside. As within, so without. The outside, a world of turmoil, a world of suffering, a world of divisiveness, of victimizations and bullies, is only possible because we're now grounded inside with the truth of who we are. So to wake up is to go through the process, and it takes however long it takes anybody. And we can't compare ourselves with one another because everybody enters at a different level of consciousness. We all enter at the level of consciousness that we left at in the previous incarnation. So people who can pick up on information, spiritual truths relatively quickly, and by quickly, it could be a couple of decades, and then can integrate it so that the walk and the talk are in alignment. Those are beings who in previous lifetimes already were working through karma. Might have been monks, might have been people who just, that was their work for several lifetimes, because it takes time. We need time, as the Course in Miracles says, to undo what took time to create. So for example, if we spend in the schooling years 12 years of indoctrination to make us conform, to make children behave a certain way and follow rules, it's going to take about that amount of time to undo the becoming a rule follower. So it is a process. But right now, there is an acceleration of the amplitude of the lessons and the number of the lessons that are being activated around the world to help humanity make a shift. And the shifts are happening in different levels. There are people who have no clue that they're divine beings, none whatsoever. They're totally stuck in the matrix. They listen to their mind, their egoic mind, the one that got trained in those 12 years of schooling to give their power away. They are at the lower levels of consciousness. Doesn't make them less than anybody else in terms of a soul. Their soul is up here, but their experience of who they are is here. They're going to need some big shocks to rattle them out of their sleep. Somebody who's operating at a higher frequency, where they are in a place of desire. This is where desire is. They desire to stop suffering. They're going to take what's happening and go, oh my gosh, this kind of seems like what I thought was happening. I just didn't know it looked this way. They're not going to suffer as much because there's already a knowingness that they don't want to continue operating in the same old way. So they have a level of curiosity that comes with desire. So when more of the proverbial shit hits the fan, and I'm telling you, the year 2024, that's the 5th year in the decade 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. We're in the 4th year of this decade. 2024 is the 5th year of the final decade. And when I say final decade, Course in Miracles is teaching us we're in the middle of chapter 30, which is titled The New Beginning. We have a 10-year window because humans need time to undo what took time to create. So we are in a 10-year window. We're approaching the middle of that window, meaning things in 2024 are going to be activated in the most potent possible ways to cause the shift, to cause the internal questioning, the internal recognition that something is really off. The majority of humanity still believes that the outside has power over them. Now, a lot of those people recognize that those that they have given power to, they can't trust them. So that was necessary to begin shifting from giving power completely outside of ourselves. So there's already you know what, I don't trust these people. That is part of the desire to do things differently. But what comes after desire? Immediately after desire comes anger. You know what anger is? Anger is, I am fed up with this. I am no longer going to continue to give my power away. These are the people who are doing something about changing what has been taking place. So those who have a desire, I want things to be better, and they tap into their anger, I'm done with this, are actually the ones who are changing the outer world. Those who have done the work of going beyond that, which, look, it takes a lot of courage to go beyond to the next level, is neutrality. Above the line, we need to be neutral. So those who can hold the frequency of neutrality, meaning not reacting to what's happening, because you're tapping in to your soul's acknowledgement that there's a bigger plan at play. There is all of consciousness, all of what God is expressing itself in a gazillion ways because it's infinite. To play roles for one another to help activate experiences, including low frequency experiences. And there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. We are all allowed to play whatever role we want to play. For thousands of lifetimes, we've been playing very, very dense, very physical roles of battles, killing each other with knives, killing each other, with stones, with sticks. And it's been progressively getting more sophisticated the way that we kill each other. So the dying can happen instantaneously for some, where before, it was pretty horrific, having a lion shred your body apart. So we all have participated because we're all part of one mind, one consciousness, in having experiences that allows us to, through the contrast, say, I don't want that anymore. But we must move through the levels of consciousness. That what that means is we utilize, using the chart from Dr. David Hawkins, who broke down, that man received channeled information to help us really understand the way the mind works, to break it down in a way that makes logical sense. We have to change our mind about one thing, and then change our mind about another thing, and then we change our mind about another thing. And little by little, the mind is trained out of feeling shame and humiliation and blame. We move into despair, we move into anxiety. From anxiety, we go into the craving, the desire to make things better. And then we go through a period of hating the world that indoctrinated us. We hate our parents, we hate our teachers, we hate our bosses, our spouses, or whoever, hate the government. We got to get to hate. We really have to get, that's a higher frequency. Hate is a higher frequency than blame. Because when we activate hate, we activate the recognition that we prefer something different. Who are you going to hate if not the one that is oppressing you? So a lot of people are not at the energy of revenge yet. Too many people are still in denial that they have power, in denial that the outside world, as we've been playing the game, there are people that we gave power to. Anybody who still listens to what the government says and follows those rules and make sure that they get their taxes done by the 15th or whatever, that they get their children vaccinated, that they do, do things on a specific schedule, still believe that if they don't, they're going to get in trouble. So they don't hate the outside world. They don't hate their oppressors. They fear them. And fear is at a lower frequency. Let me see. Well, this whole thing actually is fear. When you look at fear, the way that I put it in this chart to simplify things, fear is below desire. You're fearing them. You don't desire to be done with them. So humanity is being taken as a collective because we have a collective agreement. We as a collective decided that we were going to take this 10-year window. It's a much longer window, but this was the 10 years of intensity where we would allow ourselves to see how much power we gave away and the cost of that power. That's what is going to be revealed in 2024 in a big way. The cost of the power that we gave away, because that is the 5th year in the decade. So in 2025, which is the first of the second set of 5 years in the 10-year decade, we are going to begin to see there's going to be a resurgence because so many will have been exposed to the cost of giving our power away. Then that is going to activate people into a desire to change things. But what's really crucial to understand is anger is a necessary energy, because the people who become angry, and I'm not saying that if you are at a place of neutrality, you can't get angry. I'm in neutrality. I don't get angry at anything because I don't need to, because I can observe what is happening and I can see, okay, these are the players that are angry and they're the ones who are doing something. These are the players who, and because it is a game, you've got to understand that we're all playing a virtual game where we all play a role that we chose to incarnate into to have this experience of a collective planet that appears to be traveling through space, so that we all playing our roles, the victims, the bullies, the successful people, the poor people, the ones who fall victims of addiction, the ones who follow the rules and then do all the right things and still things don't work out for them. All of those roles have to be played out so that we can come to the place that we recognize there's got to be another way. A Course in Miracles was given to us over 50 years ago now. I think it's like 60 years ago, to prepare our minds, to train the minds to be ready for this decade of incredible change, because this is the way the game is being played. This decade is a window, an opportunity to make a choice to lock ourselves into a new frequency. Now, it doesn't lock us in forever, but it locks us in for a period of time that is a 26,000-year cycle. To understand all of this, the mind can no longer be associated with the outer world, human life being the most important thing. Going to work, paying the bills, taking care of the kids, going out Friday night, getting the paycheck and going out partying and buying new things. That is very 3D. We need enough people who have gone beyond that and realize, wait a second, this is just a game here. Who is the player? And we're associating ourselves with the player of the game. And then the player is one who can see, well, there are a lot of different games happening. I want to play a different game. So when you are awake, you realize, well, the game here is pretty uncomfortable. It's a lot of misery. It's a lot of suffering. I want to play here, or I want to play here. 2020, the decade, is the decade for those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, to make a choice. What game do we want to play? Those who believe that the outside has power are going to lock themselves into a 26,000 year cycle of reincarnation, because they are going to play the game of karma, where I come in one lifetime and I'm a victim, the next lifetime I'm a bully, and I bounce back and forth through lifetimes until I ascend into neutrality. So if you are prepared to see what's happening, if you have aligned yourself as the player of the game, meaning you recognize that you are a soul who's the creator of your reality, there is nothing outside of you that has power over you, then you have made that internal shift and you are participating in the co-creation of the 4D experience. You move from 3D karma, everything happens to you, you move into fourth dimension. Fourth dimension is where you acknowledge that you have the choice between love and fear. You completely acknowledge that everything that you feel is a result of what you think. Now you are completely in control of what is happening. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have fear-based reactions, but as soon as you observe them, you go, oh, wait a second, I just fell asleep in that moment. I was unconscious. I gave power away. Then you forgive yourself and you return yourself to your right mind, where you say, okay, now I'm going to play differently. And then you make new choices from that place. From that place, you choose to do things lovingly, meaning you observe what is. You observe the sickness, the financial checking account, your child who's hurt, your friend who's hurt, your husband who's hurt, or whatever, or you get a diagnosis. You then become the observer of whatever it is with the highest level of peace within you. Because in neutrality, you then, the next level is willingness, and the next level is acceptance. You have become a willing participant in a game of accepting that in the physical world, we have bodies that go through birth and death, bodies that get cut, bodies that get bruised, bodies that age, bodies that die. You have an acceptance that that is the game, with eyes wide open. So somebody gets a diagnosis now, or you get a diagnosis, now you go, how am I going to experience this thing called cancer, or this thing called tuberculosis, or whatever it might be, this thing called a cold? How am I going to deal with this migraine? You now realize that there's only two options. Am I going to bring my peace and say, migraine, what are you trying to tell me? Oh, I need to take a nap. I need to rest. I need to pull away. I'm about to sneeze. Do I need to minimize my engagements? Everything is a signal. Everything is information. So you are willing, because you're neutral, you're not judging it. It's not good or bad. It just is. You accept, okay, this is happening, but I have the ability to experience it with peace in my heart. Can I bring joy to the situation? Can I bring the lightheartedness that is most necessary in this situation? Some people naturally, I'm going to say this, let me correct this. All of us are naturally lighthearted, but all of us, when we descended into the third dimension, we were trained out of lightheartedness. Part of that schooling time, we had to take things serious. So we need to lighten up. We need to bring light to the situation. Can we find the funny in whatever is happening? And of course, we know when to do it appropriately, when we're attuned with what is taking place, and bring light, love, joy to whatever is happening. My nose is running. Hold on a second. I manifested for myself living with dogs that have dander and they activate stuff in my nose. So what is my lesson there? Is to not blame the dogs, is to not say, oh, this is terrible that this is happening to me, but rather it's just a part of the game. Here in this physical world, we have cause and effect. If you eat too much of this, you might get to some of that. If you don't get enough of sleep, you might be tired. And then how do you experience that? You're all tired because you didn't get enough sleep for whatever reason. Are you going to blame whatever kept you awake? Or are you going to say, okay, I only got 4 hours of sleep last night. Then I'll do my best today to get more sleep tonight. No need to blame, to shame, to be angry, to be upset. We have to learn. That's what the fourth dimension is about. We have to learn that we can be present to anything in a lighthearted way. Anything, including things like death that in the ego mind appear to be so horrific. Because when you can be present to that, that doesn't have power over you. What that sets you up for is to be one that can love anything, and that's a higher frequency. Now you get to play a game of love. In the game of love, when you are at that dimension of consciousness, fifth dimension, there is no death. There is no suffering. Because when we are operating from only love, you're not choosing between love and fear. Here, we think fear is normal. Here, we move to choosing between love and fear. Here, you operate only from love. Everybody who wants a world where everybody gets along, everything is fair, everything is transparent. To get to that, we have to become that kind of a player. We have to become transparent. We need to be able to say, yeah, you know what? I had fear that came up. I had anger that came up, but I didn't let that run my life. I made a choice to do things differently. We need a time period, and it's going to be in the second 5 years of this decade where people are going to become more honest, where we finally are willing to have people at the levels that we have given power to begin to admit, you know what, I made a mistake. Because at the lower level, when people don't admit that they made a mistake, when people don't admit that they do things that are better for them and hurt others, meaning selfishness, when those that we gave power don't admit that, it gives us permission not to admit it within ourselves. So we're going to go through a process, 2024, a lot of revelations, a lot of things are going to come to the surface so that we see those we gave power to have been abusing it in a big, big way. And it's going to be very shocking for humanity. It's already happening, but still not too many are watching that, are hearing that, are paying attention to that, because either they're in total denial or they're in the love and light. Oh, I don't look at bad things. I don't look at negative things, which is okay. That's part of, it's one of the steps in the journey. Or they are simply still programmed to only look at one side, and that one side that they look at makes the other side that might be exposing truths sound like a lunatic. So they just make them wrong. Again, because we give our power away, we do what we're told to do. But what is happening is those who are getting angry because they desire something better are taking a stand, saying no, being very vocal, not caring what happens to them, because they're moving into a collective consciousness out of selfishness into something that's for the greater good. And it usually starts with for the greater good for my family, and then it moves to the greater good of the community, and then eventually moves to the greater good of the country, then it moves to the greater good of the world. Where are we? What level are we playing that game? We have to become honest about. So as those people who have that anger move into the next level of pride means I deserve, I am entitled to miracles. I deserve goodness in my life, but I'm going to have to take action to make that happen. At that level of consciousness, they are going to run for office. They are running for office. They are going to be in the media. They're going to take positions in the businesses. They're going to take positions in education system, have been, and will intensify the positions that they take, because they are there in service to the greater good, not the smaller good, which usually is a small group or usually themselves. So as we look at this, let's review in this section, chapter 30, the new beginning. We are still inside of section number 4, and section number 4 is the truth behind illusions. It takes a while to understand the truth behind illusions. We gave our power away to idols. That's what we've been studying. And now we're realizing, oh, wait a second. Behind this illusion that there's power outside of me is a truth that says, I gave it that power so I could have this experience. Now, I don't need to give power outside because I need my power to co-create a different experience. And those who are co-creating a 4D experience are coming together as powerful co-creators, deciding what is better for the collective. New financial systems have been created. New medical healing systems are being created. New education systems are being created. They have been for a long time, but they were operating here in terms of availability, or, the powers that be didn't want these people to succeed. So a lot of them were persecuted. I mean, persecution is part of the game. But now there is a shifting. More people are saying, I don't want you to continue to tell me what I should take for my body when you produce products that actually are poisonous. I prefer the healthier route. So there is a shifting. But this requires pride. You must believe that you deserve something better. You can't just complain about what you don't like. You've got to be an active participant. Either you start the company that creates the products that you know are healthier, or you become a consumer of the products that are healthier. But so many people are, well, I can't buy organic because it's too expensive. So I don't want the poisonous GMO food, but I can't afford organic. So I'll just keep buying and support this. You've got to take pride to make a shift, to adjust your priorities, to value the things that are important to you. Because when you decide that your health is more important, and you value the food, and you value what you think, and you value who you support, now you become more in alignment with who you are. And to become more in alignment with who you are takes courage to realize that you are a soul. Then you shift the balance, that you are a soul that is creating your reality. And now you only value that which allows the experience as a physical being to be a joyful one. And now you value your well-being, you value, your peace above anything else. This is a time when so many let go of possessions. Possessions become less important. To spend all the money, to have all the stuff, and to have the, basically the stuff, and for people to see you appearing a certain way, becomes absolutely, that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that if I have resources, it is going to be to take care of what I value most, and it becomes mind, body, spirit. My mind has to be clear, peace above anything else. My body has to be healthy, because the body holds it is the vessel that allows us to have the experience. So you need your avatar to be operating perfectly so you can play this game. Spirit, you're only listening to spirit. When you played up here with the ego, you were listening to ego. You were listening to conditionings and trainings and programming, and follow the leader outside of you. Here, you follow the leader inside of you. So last week, or last time, we didn't meet last week because of Thanksgiving, but the previous week, in paragraph number 7, we read the first statement: salvation is a paradox indeed. I highly recommend that you listen to that episode. It is absolutely imperative. It's 127, and I don't even know if I've posted it yet or not, but I'll make sure it's posted today. Please listen to that if you were not part of that. But salvation is a paradox indeed, meaning paradoxes is when two seeming opposing things can be held at the same time as possible. So when you realize that you're non-physical soul, and you realize that you're having a human experience, and you hold both together, that's a paradox. I'm a non-physical being having a human experience, and I live with the knowingness that I'm not attached to this body. This is a temporary avatar. When it's done, it's done. That's it, because it is temporary, like a car, it's temporary. If I'm going to say attached to anything, is the truth that offers me the peace that passes all understanding, which is I'm eternal. So if this body is meant to go today or tomorrow or in 10 years, okay, it does not end what I am. What I am is eternal. That is why I experience the salvation. I am free. That's what salvation is. I am saved. I have saved myself. Instead of that old show, Saved by the Bell, I am saved by the truth that sets all beings free. But I made the commitment to move through the desire to have things better, which so many spiritual people, they want things better, but they're not unwilling to face the anger that activates a pride that moves them into courage to say, I am no longer seeing the outside world as having power over me, and move into the neutrality that says, all right, I can see why this is happening. Everybody's playing a role. Everybody's playing a game. We've got soul contracts that have put us in places to play specific roles for people to have specific awakenings. I know that my former husband played a role in the end of that relationship because it allowed me to move into neutrality. I thought I was in neutrality, but I was all just spiritualized ego before that experience happened, because I had to learn to walk my talk with him. As I saw him moving into his fears, I had to let him, I had to realize I can't change him. I can't fix him. And if I tried to tell him what's wrong with him, it's because I can't love him. So I had to bring myself into loving him no matter where he was at. That's what neutrality does. So if he's angry, if he's scared, if he's judging, it's okay. He's allowed to have his role, because that freed me from thinking I knew what was better for anybody else. So I am so grateful that that relationship came in fast and furious and amazing to hook me in. It totally hooked my ego in. And then to have it shatter so quickly and so abruptly, so devastatingly rocked my life, my world, to give me an opportunity to see what was going on. That was a 10-year window. 5 years amazing, 5 years crazy, me grounding myself in my truth. Well, the 10-year window that we're in, same thing. 5 years of insanity, COVID, all this stuff that's happening around the world, the wars, Ukraine, the Middle East, the stuff that's happening with the elections in not just the United States, this is around the world. We're going to see all the stuff that has happened with those elections. All that information is going to come out. It's already trickling out. There's already evidence for those with eyes to see that we have a very corrupt system. And that corrupt system is only possible when we give it power. So we've got to take our power back from the system by saying, nope, I'm not afraid of you anymore. And the courageous people are going to change it, but you have to not give it power. So the more that you sit in the place of going, salvation is a paradox indeed. Oh, wow. I'm a divine being having a human experience. I don't need to give power to sources outside of me. I am going to take it back. If you do that and operate without fear, operate without any concern about what the outside can do to you, you are actually operating at the level of courage. You may not need to go out and change the world physically, but you are changing the world spiritually, energetically, by no longer fearing the outside. That was the section before this that we read, to recognize that when we create idols outside of us, we give power outside of us. We're not living in a paradox. We're living in the singularity of the ego, that we are not, we're not the creators of our reality, somebody else is. Well, the minute that you change that and you go, no, wait a second, I am the creator of my reality, you now are living in a paradox, because you're creating your reality, realizing you're still playing the 3D game. So you acknowledge the avatar that you have, while at the same time acknowledging you are the player of it. So you go to the mind, where all the instructions of how to play the game are accessed, and you begin to change how you play the game. So what we read last week said that, what could this freedom be, this salvation be, except a happy dream? So when you're freed from fearing the outside, you participate in a happy dream. You now get to create from joy. That's the fourth dimension, because you're choosing joy instead of fear. That is a crucial step before you move to the fifth dimension. How can you have fifth dimensional power of everything being love and light until you begin to access that power in your day-to-day choices with your day-to-day circumstances, and bring the love and light to the everyday circumstances? If you can go to the traffic accident with love and light, and you're upset at the traffic accident, then you're in the third dimension, because you don't believe you have a choice. You think that it's natural to react. You think that it's normal to be stressed. You think that it's part of the process to get upset. If you believe that it's okay to react and to be upset, then you are stuck in 3D. Radical honesty with yourself is what is going to move you. This 10-year window, the people who are going to stay playing the 3D game for another 26,000 years are not playing honestly. They are dishonest when they, in their own mind, think that the outside has power. That's not true. The inside has power, but they're giving it away. They're saying, you get it outside. You, Mr. President, have power over me. You, media, have power over me. You, doctor, have power over me. That's being dishonest, because it's not acknowledging the power that you have. Radical honesty says, no, I have that power in me. So we have an opportunity here to really question every thought that we have and put it into perspective. What is of ego? What is of God? That is what the fourth dimension of consciousness is. Those who choose to move to that higher frequency are going to put themselves in a 26,000 year trajectory of raising vibration. Things are only going to get better. Course in Miracles calls it a happy dream. We're going to work through the stuff. We're going to come together as a collective to not only ask for it, but participate in the co-creation of everything that is going to be what we prefer. Because we're not going to give our power away. We're going to use our power to co-create, truly co-create. This is where governments are going to change. It's not going to be the way they used to be. Every system is going to be totally radically transformed, because it will not be sustainable in the old 3D way, because we shifted dimensions to one where things are only going to improve. So this week's paragraph number 8, here does the dream of separation start to fade and disappear. In that fourth dimension, that awareness of choice, and I get to choose, where I take 100% responsibility, courage that straddles us in that fourth dimension. Here does the dream of separation start to fade and disappear. You begin to realize, you know what? We're not separate. We really are one. Let's collaborate. You don't get to have power over me. We're going to do this together. Transparency in government, transparency in everything. Parents being having more say than a board of education over their children's education. It's going to be more collaborative, because separation is going to begin to disappear. We're not going to have people who have power go off to Washington. They get to make all these decisions behind closed doors. We're going to do them together. Everything's going to be transparent. Everybody who wants to be part of that political system, you'll be able to see in real time. You'll read the bills that they're proposing. Everybody will have access to them. They're representing the average citizen, and the average citizen tells them, this is what I want you to do, because we will have the electronic means, the technological means, that everybody that reads it, and you'll be able to see who reads it, because we're moving to a blockchain system of distributing information, distributing everything through blockchain. So those who read everything will have the ability, that citizen, to say, I want you to vote for this. But somebody who didn't take the time to read it, their vote's not going to matter at home. But those who educated themselves because they were drawn to that, they will tell their representatives, this is how I want you to vote. And that representative will vote based on what the people want, because that is where we're moving. They're representing the people. Right now, we have a system where the people gave them power, no accountability, no transparency. They're doing whatever they want to do, and they're doing what they're doing to the system. And those who want to continue to give power away will have another 26,000 a year of having that opportunity. Those of us who are tired of that, we're done with that. We're going to play the game a different way. So the next sentence says, for here, the gap that is not there begins to be perceived without the toys of terror you made. We're moving to being able to see that there is a gap. There is a space that we have to stand and say, this is ego, this is God. I want that. You have to stand in the gap. And the gap is awareness, is neutrality. I'm not going to judge those who played the games of terror. I'm not going to judge those who wanted to play bullies and victims, because I did it. We become radically honest. Yeah, I played that game, and now I just don't want to play that game anymore. But I'm not gonna judge the ones who want to play the game of suffering. We let them have their 26,000 year run. We just stand in the space. A gap is what is called here, where I can see this way, I can see that way, or you could say you can see up, you can see down. Doesn't matter how you label it. You can see that you prefer, you have contrast without blame. You prefer this, and you just shift. I'm gonna move into a 26,000 year evolution of consciousness that is only going to move higher and higher in love, compassion, kindness, generosity, contribution, cooperation, collaboration. You're choosing that. But you have to have made the choice to experience the salvation that paradox brings. You have to have made the choice to only value peace. And when you value peace, you're valuing with those who value peace. There will be no more terror there, no more suffering there, no more separation there, because everybody has agreed to be in service to the greater good for all. Selfishness does not exist there. While you think that it is natural to react, that it is natural to be stressed, that it is natural to have pain and suffering, you are saying yes to the third dimensional game, that you don't have power. So you are, in essence, lying to yourself, saying, I don't have power. The accident has power. The diagnosis has power. My husband has power. My boss has power. The government has power. So if you're going to lie to yourself, and you're going to play with players who lie to themselves, and it's every man for themselves. That is okay. It's okay if you want to play that game, because you're the creator of your reality, whether you are acknowledging or not. So this continues to say, no more than this is asked, that you begin to acknowledge there are two ways. Stand in the gap, become neutral, and realize, oh, people get to pick how they play the game of life. They get to pick. So what do I want to pick for me? That is what is being asked for. No more than that is being asked. So be glad indeed that salvation asks so little, not so much. It's so little what is being asked of you. Be honest that you're a powerful creator choosing to give your power away, or a powerful creator choosing to use your power for the greater good of all? Simple. I know it takes a long time. I know it's not an easy concept to understand. The younger generation, the kids, they're born, they have been born since the harmonic convergence of 1987. They have been born with an activation of consciousness that allows them to really feel and operate in more integrity, to see things more clearly. And in this world, of course, it's difficult for them because, their parents still are operating in lower density, but they can find the joy. They can find the common sense in things. I like to listen to news, if you will, reported by young people, the 20, 30 somethings. Their perspective is so amazing. So I do not listen to the news from the 60, 70-year-old newscasters. I go to the 20, 30 something and 40 somethings because their perspective is just so amazing. They see the insanity of it all. Sentence number 5, it asks for nothing in reality. Your freedom is not asking you really for anything other than you assume full responsibility for your beliefs. That's it. Because you are using your beliefs to give power to a third dimension. You use your beliefs to give power to the 5th dimension. But to get to the 5th dimension, you must move through the 4th dimension, which is to see clearly you have 2 choices. The ego's dimension of 3D, the soul's dimension of 5D, and you have to pick the one that you are going to embody, because when you embody it, when you live it, when you walk your talk, you're literally creating your experience that attracts the people that will co-create this, or you're creating more of the insanity but you're creating it thinking you're all spiritual. Well, your ego got spiritual and your ego's using that spirituality, but you're not benefiting from the freedom of it because you're choosing to be enslaved by the ego, because you're giving the ego the opportunity to be spiritual instead of acknowledging that you are the spirit that is not bound by the human ego. So you have to make the choice. I mean, there's no other way. And even in illusions, it but asks forgiveness be substituted for fear. The ego is all about fear. The process of seeing, standing in the gap and observing, oh my gosh, I've got 2 choices, requires that you forgive yourself for having believed for so long that power is outside of you, for having lied to yourself while you played the game of separation. You forgive yourself. Wow, my gosh. I thought it was the outside that made me suffer. Now I realize I made myself suffer. That is crucial because that takes courage to admit I did it all myself. And that level of courage is necessary to then say, I'm done with that. I'm moving into neutrality. I'm moving to the place where I don't judge those who want to play that game. So we let them play that game. And you watch the news, never blaming anybody, but just observing, wow, isn't that interesting? Fascinating. They want to keep killing each other. They want to keep taking sides. They want to keep giving their power away to the government, to the pharmaceutical companies. Isn't that fascinating? That newscaster really believes that your well-being comes from a pill or a shot, or wow, you just become fascinated by what people choose to believe has power. And you forgive yourself for having played that game for so long with lack of awareness, and you just simply state, I'm done with that. Nothing more is asked of you. I'm just done. Don't blame them. I'm done. This is what I prefer. And those who are already there, we find each other. We come together in co-creation because it's a different vibration. It's absolutely amazing. Such is the only rule for happy dreams. You have to pick it through radical honesty to leave the blaming, let go of that, find the courage to say, yeah, my mind is powerful. And then you use that mind deliberately, but it always, 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 you will know if you're in the fifth dimension, because everything you do is for the greater good of all. You're no longer selfish. You're no longer, it's all about me. You're no longer trying to hoard to make me rich or to make me safe or to make me whatever. That's 3D. Here is, okay, how can we serve the collective? This decade is showing us the people who are still greedy, who are still selfish, who is all about me, versus those who really care about the collective. It's crucial that you pay attention. What is it that you're thinking? That radical honesty. When you're saying your prayers, when you're in meditation, when you're in quiet contemplation, are you thinking only about you and what's going to make you more comfortable? Or maybe your family is a small group. Can you expand it to the whole universe? Can you want for all beings to remember that they're powerful creators of their reality? And that there is no lack if you're the creator. There is no suffering. There's no sickness if you're the creator. Wouldn't it be better if you prayed or held the knowingness that the whole world is a powerful, is filled with 8 billion powerful creators, and you just hold a frequency that they remember the truth that they are powerful? That is for the greater good of all, people who remember that they're powerful. Sentence number 8 says, the gap is emptied of the toys of fear, and then its unreality is plain. The minute that you see that the ego has co-created a world of fear, a world where we use tanks and bombs and things to hurt one another, to make others suffer, that we scare people into, paying their taxes or taking a shot or whatever, because if you don't take it, you're going to be in trouble. Those toys of fear, those tools of manipulation will not be part of the reality of those who move into the next level of expansion. But you have to make that choice. And it starts with you claiming honestly that you are the creator of your own reality. And then observe what you're creating. At the end of the day, look at all the times that you gave power away, that you said, oh, I have no power. No power. It is what it is. My body got sick, so I had to suffer. Or you decide to go, oh, my body has something in it. Let me bring the love and the consciousness that says, I am going to observe it with neutrality. This is the effect of karma, thousands of years of incarnations in that game. The fourth dimension is a process by which we are purifying the mind of the old ways as we begin to ascend into the new ways. We're not practiced at doing things for the greater good. It's not our practice. We got conditioned into selfishness. It is not our practice to believe in abundance that we share because we got trained into selfishness. I'm working for me, put the money in my bank account. It's mine. I get to decide what to do with it. We're not trained in collaboration because we've been trained into separation. So we have to go through a period of adjustment. That's the fourth dimension. And it begins the minute that you make the decision to go into neutrality, to accept that you are the creator of your reality with honesty and begin to say, I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to judge how they use their power. I'm going to focus on how I use my power. And then you bring it back in. So with that, we complete paragraph number 8. We'll get together next week and there'll be paragraph number 9. And that's the last paragraph in this section. Then we move into section number 5, which is the only purpose that we have. I mean, these teachings get simpler and simpler and simpler. So if anybody wants to unmute yourselves and share any thoughts, comments you might have had about this episode, this transmission that came through me. If not, I'll see you next week. And as always, you can find all the episodes. And we've done so far 128. This one's 128. So for about 3 years, maybe a little over 3 years, I do these calls every Wednesday, almost every Wednesday, 12 o'clock Eastern time. And if you enjoy it, share it with others. And if you get something out of it, help spread the word that there are so many teachers on the planet, so many teachings, so many sharing information freely. Just we want to get more people to know this. Why? Because I want more players. co-creating with me in the fifth dimension. That's why I do this, is to elevate humanity. Because if it's good for the collective, it's good for me. I don't have to think about just me anymore. I think about the collective. That's why I love sharing what I share. All right, everybody. Have a magnificent rest of your day. I love you all. Thank you for being here. Take care. Bye-bye.